What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Jennifer Garner film, Peppermint. Peppermint is directed by Pierre Morel, who famously directed Taken, stars Jennifer Garner, John Gallagher Jr., and Juan Pablo Raba. Peppermint tells the story of Riley North, who is a mother and wife who, after her husband, and her daughter all go to a Christmas carnival for her daughter's birthday, when they are savagely gunned down in front of her and she is also shot, and the men who committed the murder, who she is able to recognize and recall exactly who they are let go because apparently there is not enough evidence, being as she is the only witness to the murder and they claim that she is not credible enough. She disappears, and when she returns to the city 5 years after the murder of her family, she decides to take revenge on the people that committed the act. Now, not to discredit the plot of this film, but it's kind of like Lady John Wick, where she had to go get training because she wasn't already an assassin, and instead of killing his dog, they killed her family. Pretty much equivalent, right? You know. But this movie was actually very well done. I went into this movie hoping it was pretty good after the disappointment that was Mile 22. I kind of wanted a good action movie to see in theaters, and I would say that this movie was solid. Jennifer Garner, I think, is the most impressive thing about this film. Her performance was really good. She sold the whole being a very loving mother who cares about her family a lot, which I feel like is not hard to believe because in her latter career, that's what Jennifer Garner's roles have mostly been, have very much been family-based roles. She's played a mother or a sister, or roles very similar to that, but action is where she got her start, really. So I was wondering if she could really go back into those roots and successfully do it, and she very much did. She is ripped in this movie and she sells all of the action so well. And then I'd say, unsurprisingly, Pierre Morel, who, as I said, directed Taken, handles the action in this film very well. It's all directed in a solid manner. There's not a lot of quick cuts or shaky camera. We get to see the action that is taking place in a wide angle that is well choreographed. And that's all you need to have a good action sequence. And one of my friends actually pointed this out, and it made a lot of sense in that this film didn't try to showcase Jennifer Garner's character to be some insane, crazy badass who in the span of 5 years became the greatest assassin in the world. She feels very vulnerable throughout this film. And in some of the hand-to-hand combat scenes, the people she is going up against are much bigger dudes. They're like dudes who are 6'5", 250, and they're throwing her around. But the nice thing is they didn't make it seem like she could just go toe-to-toe with them. She always had to cleverly win those fights. They didn't try to make it just oh, she's a god now. They made her feel like a person still, which I think helped the story a lot. And then this is something personally for me, because I know there are a lot of people that don't care about this, but it really annoys me, and that's that this movie did not use CGI blood. This movie used actual blood squibs, which a blood squib is like a little packet of fake blood that has a button that explodes the blood out. It utilized that in almost all of the action sequences. And to me, utilizing something like that, using those practical effects in those sequences, makes it so much easier to be invested in the sequence because you aren't pulled out of it by the terrible CGI blood that's spraying out of every person, but there's never residue left anywhere from it. And I think that in this film, the fact that they chose that worked very well, because this movie is not exceptionally violent, which I think is surprising to a lot of people. It does have moments of extreme violence that work very well, but the action sequences are a lot more of a well choreographed shootout or hand-to-hand combat scene. It's very similar to John Wick in that manner. It doesn't try to utilize the fact that there is violence to get you to enjoy it. It utilizes the violence as an aspect of the story in the brutality that she has to showcase to gain the revenge for the family that she lost. Now, with that being said, this movie definitely does have its issues. A lot of it kind of revolves around the plot and the script. I will admit also, I am personally a fan of John Gallagher Jr. I think he does an alright job in this movie. I'd say the weak points of his performance are more because of the script rather than him himself. I really enjoyed him in The Newsroom. I liked him in The Belko Experiment. I think he's a talented actor, but I think his character in the film is written rather poorly. All of the cops in this film feel very generic. They have lines that come out that you're just ugh. Come on. And you partially want to blame it on their delivery, but it's honestly even if you put that line in the most talented actor's mouth, it just sounds like an insanely generic and boring line. While Jennifer Garner's character was interesting and you got to see some fun elements of her, a lot of the other characters in the film felt exceptionally bland, including the villain, played by Juan Pablo Raba. I think he does a good job in his performance, just like John Gallagher Jr., but there are times where you are just very much just bored with the idea of his character. I'm a generic drug cartel guy who sells drugs and murders people. And it's like, yeah, we've seen that thousands of times at this point. Just like we've seen cops that say generic things about how it's hard when it's a kid that gets killed. And it's like, yeah, obviously it is. But we don't need this very generic line that includes something about that when it's made very apparent just by your facial expression and what's going on. And I think that that's where this film struggled. While they were able to make this female lead character feel strong, but also feel like she is forced to do these things to gain revenge for her family, it also very much felt like the rest of the script was just kind of tacked on. Like, they didn't feel the need to build a villain or build these side characters, because they're like, well, we got Jennifer Garner shooting at people and doing cool action scenes, that's all we need, right? And I feel like the lack of attention put on the rest of the script really brought the movie down. Because as I said earlier, while the plot of this film is not obviously the exact same as John Wick, there are a lot of differences, it's a very similar script and it's a very normal revenge character film. It's she lost something because of these people, so now she's going after these people. And it's not to say that that's not an easy to write script, because there are a lot of scripts that are very in-depth about a plot like this. But when you make a movie like what Peppermint is, it's very much meant to be just a big, fun action film. It's not trying to have all the depth of other films in that genre, which is okay. But I think the fact that the script really just was relying almost entirely on Jennifer Garner, who I think did do a good job. There are a lot of other characters in this film, and they just feel like they were written in so that way that plot device would exist in the film. I'm gonna give Peppermint a C+. Overall, I thought that this movie was fun. You get some backstory on Jennifer Garner's character. While the side characters were kind of lazily written, they still did have their enjoyable moments. And I think that the plot is one that's so easy to get behind the hero of the story that you're consistently rooting for her through it, and that's what's important in a movie like this. So if you like action, I'd say go check it out, but otherwise, if you're not big into action movies and you're just kind of thinking about seeing something, you can probably wait till this one goes on to HBO or something, but I do think it's a pretty decent movie. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Peppermint, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and hope to see you guys later.